It's to 8 o'clock. We say a very good morning. Nico Kleynhans, thank you for your time, sir, and for coming through to our studios.
Good morning. I've entitled what I want to say, Hope. But I want to tell you what my typical day looks like so you can see why that hope is important.
That is good.
On a typical day, I wear many different hats. And one of the hats I wear is that of a political activist. So I'm digging around in the area of politics, and I'm digging around in the area of failure to perform the role you're supposed to play. And that keeps me fairly busy. And by the time I'm finished with that, I'm not in a happy mood.
Oh, let's be honest.
Not in a happy mood. I also play around that of a business analyst. So I've got to read reports. I've got to look at what's happening on the boards of directors of various companies. I look at the CEOs, what they're earning, why they really need to earn 700 million rand in a year. What are they going to do with that kind of money? And I look then at the staff. What are the staff being paid? So that also is something I've got to do regularly. And then in a typical day, I will get at least 3 listeners contacting me. Now, I won't take a phone call because I've got to protect myself, because no call only lasts for 3 minutes.
No, it never does.
No matter what the person starts off the conversation as, I've only got to take 2 minutes, and 30 minutes later, the call is still going. So I will take those emails. Now, for some of that, it's quite easy. The listener really needs to speak to an attorney, and I will respond within a few minutes and saying, what you're describing, you need to get an attorney. It's fairly urgent. If you don't, this is going to be the consequences. Contact an attorney. In other cases, I'm talking to somebody who's over their head in debt. Now, I can't help with that. There is a legal process of getting the courts to protect you. That's what a debt review is. The courts step in and protect you. So you don't end up losing your house. You don't end up losing everything else. There are consequences of that, and it's going to take up to 5 years to fix your problem, but you will get out of the hole. And some of your debt will be forgiven. So then I've got to say to that listener, get a debt practitioner, they will fix it. And then sometimes it's something I can actually fix, in which case we will then have the calls and take it from there. I employ 9 people. So those of you running your own companies will know what I'm trying to say in the background.
9 people, 9 potential problems every day.
Well, especially with younger people, because we take interns on purpose. This is their first job. They've come out of college. They've got to learn certain things. They've got to learn how to apply the skills they've learned. This is the safe place where they can make their mistakes. But at the end of the year and a half with us, they won't make those mistakes again. So that is another headache. And then I've been a Christian for just over 50 years. And that also is a hat that's very important to me. And one of the things I love is archaeology, especially archaeology in the area that the Old Testament covers, because there's much in the Bible. The only evidence we have that that town or village existed is the name that appears in the Old Testament. We know nothing else. We know nothing else about the person. We know nothing else about the background. And what archaeology is discovering is supporting documentation. So we're now beginning to understand much more of Scripture. And so for me, that strengthens the roots of our belief.
Amazing.
And so I love it, for instance, today that we know more about Nazareth than we knew 10 years ago, or even 20 years ago. Archaeology is about living. It's not about only about the dead. And then there are things that I'm trying to understand. Why did Christians support slavery? What was it that made them think that was okay? And then when it came to the abandoning of slavery, why did those Christians think it was wrong? How did their thinking go? How did they understand? As I understand their thinking, I get to understand how my attitude as an activist needs to be influenced by what they can teach me. So that's a typical day, and why I sometimes want to end up jumping off the roof.
Because you need hope after all the bad news.
But now I want to say something which I said last Thursday, and I want to repeat it again, and I'm going to read it here because it's really important. My hope for South Africa lies not in what I see around me. It's what I see when I see the actions of God's people.
Beautiful.
That's what gives me hope.
Beautiful.
That means when the world is completely against something, what is it that God has whispered into the ear of one of God's followers? And what has that person done about it? And sometimes it's small. So as I drove under the bridge coming in, one of the street people has got a broom. And what he does every morning is he sweeps that portion of the road.
Yeah.
That's what his contribution is.
Yeah.
But he's doing something, and I appreciate that. So one store got hold of staff and said, we have to retrench 4 of the 15 of you.
Oui.
And you're going to lose your job by Christmas.
Mm.
I'm warning you now, we've got to start the process. And the staff got together and said, if we give a counter proposal, will you consider it? So they called a staff meeting and they said, we can't afford that some of our friends lose their jobs,
Sure.
Not Christmas time.
Yeah.
But supposing we agreed to work fewer days, that means that nobody needs to lose their job.
Sure.
And when the economy turns, we will be able to get back to where we were. But it means we won't end up losing our homes because we can't pay the bond.
Yeah.
We won't end up having to say to our kids, there's no money for Christmas. And we won't have to worry about where we're going to get school uniforms in a couple of weeks when January comes.
Sure, that's amazing.
Now, that was the action of people who got together and said, let's work together as a unit and let's do the best. Their proposal's been accepted.
Brilliant.
So they will not have their friends and co-colleagues become unemployed. That is what gives me hope. That is what I'm talking about. That is what makes us special as a people of South Africa.
Yeah.
Where I live is across the road from Vrygrond. There are thousands of people living there, mostly in shacks, because no formal housing has been built. So I've always been aware, particularly in COVID, that kids are going hungry.
Yeah.
And I used to go in there and seeing, what are we doing as a community about those kids who are hungry? And somebody's got together and said, we can't have Christmas go by and have these kids not have anything. And her goal is just to get 650 packages together for 650 of the kids.
Brilliant.
And it's not a lot of money. 65 rand will buy the critical things that those kids need.
Yeah.
So
School
that at
supplies.
Christmas time,
Yeah.
they will get something as a gift.
Wow.
So they don't feel totally isolated.
Mm.
That gives me hope. Because we can get together, 40,000 will make a difference to that entire group of people. And there are enough of us around here to be able to do that. So that is what I'm saying when I'm saying we have hope. We have hope when we hear God whispering to us and saying, go and talk to, go and do, go and make a difference. That's what makes South Africa special. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, Nico.